Over the past year, I've been challenging myself to take the manga characters' teams to see if they could beat a Hardcore Nuzlocke in their home region. Because when your main goal is to tell a fun story, sometimes the team ends up taking a big hit. So in this video, we're visiting Platinum to see if her team can complete a Hardcore Nuzlocke of the Sinnoh region. It may be harder than you think though, because if a Pokemon faints, it's gone forever, and even though Platinum came from a very rich background, her team basically consists of Route 1 stinkers. So to start our journey, we've got to give ourselves a name, but since Platinum's name is just one character too long, we've got to abbreviate it a little to make it fit. We also name our rival Pearl, and with a little bit of behind the scenes editing, we can give Pearl his starter Chimler as we start with our signature Piplup. In the manga, Platinum was gifted her Piplup from Professor Rowan, but she had a little trouble getting off the ground. At the start of their journey, Platinum was attacked by some wild Kricketot and Kricketune, and although Piplup tried her best to fend them off, she just wasn't strong enough to defeat the horde. That was a huge blow to Piplup's pride. I mean, come on, it's Kricketot, like, it's not that hard. But later on to redeem herself, Piplup would end up being the MVP in the battle against Roark as she tanked a powerful shockwave before taking out his Cranidos to win the battle. So with a nickname theme settled on and our Pokédex obtained, it's time to start our journey as we make our way over to Orberg City. But before we take on the gym leader, we can catch one more team member in the patch of grass up north, that being Platinum's first team member, Ponyta. In the manga, Platinum brought Ponyta from home as she started her journey, but coming from this life of luxury, he wasn't exactly the best in terms of battling. Instead, he was mainly her form of transportation across Sinnoh as she rode on his back throughout their adventures. Actually, if you go to Platinum's Rapidash on Bulbapedia and scroll down to his description, it's just loss after loss. Lost to Roark's Onix, lost to Gardenia's Roserade despite the type advantage. They start picking up more wins later on, but I think the universe was trying to tell them something. So with our two team members, we've got everything prepared to face off against the first challenge of the run. Roark leads with his Geodude as we're starting the battle with Martlet. Since we naturally outspeed, we can one-shot him with the quad effective bubble, taking him out as Roark sends out Onix. Onix is actually pretty speedy, so he's able to set up the stealth rocks, but a follow-up bubble actually isn't enough to take him out. This causes the AI to heal with a potion, but it's not enough to save him from another bubble. That only leaves Roark's final team member, his ace Cranidos, but since we're at full HP, we're safe to stay in and tank his headbutts, dodging the flinch twice before getting a torrent boosted bubble to secure the two-shot. If we had gotten flinched, that would probably be a reset, but Martlet the GOAT was able to hold strong and secure us the victory. After the battle, we also evolve into Prinplup, and with Rock Smash now available, we can make our way over to Eterna City for the next challenge. On our way there, we first got to pick up some more teammates, the first of which being out here in Valley Windworks. It's a disappointing encounter, but we catch Mooch the Pachirisu, who in the manga was actually a gift from Volkner. In fact, half her team was actually gifted by gym leaders to help in their showdown against Dialga and Palkia. That includes our next encounter, who's actually a Honey Tree encounter, that being Axis the Cherubi. In the manga, Platinum's Cherim was given to her by Gardenia to help out in that very same battle. She's another disappointing encounter since their low base stats are gonna pose a challenge for us later on, but we've gotta make do with what we've got. So after clearing through the Galactic Grunts in Valley Windworks, including flawlessly taking out Mars's Perugly with the combination of our 4 team members, we make our way through Eterna Forest, rescuing Cheryl and grabbing one final encounter, Clover the Baniri. In the manga, Platinum actually caught Lopunny all on her own. The first time we see her was in the battle against Candice, where she used her high speed to defeat the bulky Abomasnow. When Candice sent out her Frostlass, the strategy no longer worked, so Lopunny sacrificed herself with the Healing Wish to bring Rapidash back out to win the battle. Obviously, we won't be doing that since Healing Wish would cause us to faint, but since Baniri is a friendship evolution, we can run around a bunch to boost our friendship, meaning we can have a fully evolved Lopunny before the second gym. So with everything prepared, we might as well head in to take her on. Gardenia leads with Turtwig, whose main objective is to set up Sunny Day, so we lead with Starlo. And with our high speed stat, we can immediately outspeed and connect with a Flame Wheel, getting the one shot and putting us at an immediate advantage. Gardenia sends out Cherim next, who is tanky enough to survive a Flame Wheel, but not strong enough as a weak Magical Leaf only chips us a bit. Another Flame Wheel can secure the knockout, leaving only her ace Roserade as her final mon. We continue going for Flame Wheel, being nearly a one-shot as Roserade munches on her Citrus Berry for some recovery. She counters back with the Stun Spore, paralyzing us and cutting our speed, so on the next turn, Roserade outspeeds with the Magical Leaf, but it's just not enough damage as Starlo breaks through the para and connects with the final Flame Wheel, taking her out and winning us our second gym badge. With access to the Cut HM, we can break into the Galactic building to take out Jupiter and her Skuntank. Our max power returns let us hold our own against this run ender, allowing Clover to cleanly take her out as we rescue the bike owner. And with our fancy new bike, we make our way down Cycling Road and head into Mount Coronet. We have a confrontation with Cyrus here, and okay, watch as he leaves the room. He never heads up! You should be able to see his right arm here if you went up, so that means he must be hiding down here behind the rocks until we leave.
Bruh.
And just like that, we've made it to Hearthome City, but with no new team members or evolutions at our level cap, I decided to get ourselves ready for the upcoming gym battle. Fantina leads with Duskull as we're starting with Starlo. I had to do a ton of planning for this fight, and leading with our fire type to be immune to the Will-O-Wisp was the best answer I could find. So after a couple Flame Wheels, Duskull goes down as Fantina sends out her Haunter. But since the Shadow Claw is definitely coming, we have a free switch into Clover for the immunity, and with our decent bulk and Duskull's horrible special attack, we can easily survive the Future Sight from earlier. And here's a strat that I cooked up. Since we don't get any coverage to hit Fantina's ghost types, we use Foresight to allow our normal type attacks to land. We do get put to sleep with Hypnosis, and since we unfortunately have the Klutz ability,
You stupid.
we're not able to eat our Chesto Berry to wake up. But with our decently high bulk, Clover can stay in and tank a Sucker Punch before bringing Haunter down to a sliver with a return. Haunter puts us back to sleep as Fantina opts to heal again, but by wasting turns with Foresight to avoid the Sucker Punch, we can survive long enough to wake up and fire off another return, this time getting a high roll and taking them out. That only leaves her ace Mismagius, but since we're still at a fairly high HP, we can rinse and repeat by going for a Foresight and then return. It deals a fair chunk of damage, but since we're confused, I've got to play around the Psybeam crit by switching into Axis. We're also decently tanky, so we can survive the Psybeam and Shadow Ball, letting us set up with Leech Seed. So by switching back into Clover on the baited Shadow Ball, and the Seeds taking a notch of their health each turn, we can once again go for our Foresight and return strategy to finish off her ace, winning us the battle and letting us collect our third gym badge. So far, I'm having a lot of fun with these guys, especially that they're such an unconventional team. It forces us to use these odd strategies, and spoilers for the endgame, but there's an infamous Dark and Ghost type Pokemon with no weaknesses that actually does have a weakness if you use Foresight, so we've just got to keep our team alive to pull off that strat. Hey, real quick, I just want to say I hope you guys are enjoying these battles too. I try my best to come up with these unique strategies and also to convey them effectively in the video, so I hope that you guys are liking it. Of course, if you are, I'd really appreciate it if you could help me out and leave a like on the video. It'll help you out as well, since YouTube will recommend you similar Nuzlocke content, so it's a win-win. Win-win-win.
With win-win-win, we all win.
We've got our eyes set on the next town, so we can head through the routes, passing through Solaceon Town, trekking through the rainy Route 215, and finally arrive at Veilstone City. Crasher waits outside the gym, but he's not our current target. Our actual target's a fighting type master, and looking at our team, we're not exactly well equipped to deal with that. So going into this battle, I don't exactly have a great plan. I've got concepts of a plan, so let's see how it goes. Maylene leads with Meditite as we're starting off with Mooch. We always get faked out on the first turn, but the cool thing about Mooch's moveset is we get access to a bunch of support moves. So we immediately use Charm to lower their attack, letting us easily tank the incoming Rock Tomb. Another Charm brings them to -6 attack, so at this point, it's pretty safe to take them out with Discharge. 2 is enough to finish the job as Maylene immediately sends out her ace Lucario. He actually outspeeds us and hits us with a Drain Punch, but we hold strong as our Oranberry heals back a little. Then we continue going for charm strats, lowering them to -3 attack, which we can see in effect as we easily tank their next Force Palm. So after another charm to obliterate their attack even further, we can switch into Axis on the next Drain Punch as we set up the Leech Seeds. Then, with everything set up, we can send out Starlo to use Flame Wheel, taking out Lucario in 2 hits as we sponge all their attacks. That only leaves Machoke, so we stay in to use Growl for a few turns, like a pseudo charm strat, as Machoke returns pitiful damage with Rock Tomb. And after getting them to -6, we can switch out ourselves into Martlet, taking a strength on the way in as we fire back with Bubble Beam. 2 shots are enough for the KO, meaning we've just charmed our way through a pretty difficult battle, making that 4 badges down with half the region left to conquer. At this point in the game, Team Galactic steals Diamond's Pokédex, which is pretty funny to me because it's not really that important to the game. Like, you can go your whole journey without even opening the Pokédex once. But in the manga, it's this whole ordeal, like the dex holders are such an important group, but you don't really need it to succeed. Well, regardless, we take out the grunts to take it back as Mooch easily dispatches their underlevel Pokemon with a couple Thunderbolts. That means our next destination's down south, which is going to be the beautiful Pastoria City, home of the Great Marsh, and also our next gym challenge. So we made our way through the routes, passing through Valor Lakefront and arriving at our destination. Before we can head into the gym, Pearl challenges us to yet another fight, but the difficulty hasn't ramped up yet. His Pokemon aren't even fully evolved, so we can quickly clean up his team before heading in to prepare for the upcoming fight. And in order to prepare, we've got a noteworthy evolution as Martlet evolves into her final form Empoleon, but truth be told, I'm not exactly scared for this fight. So with the rest of the team at the level cap, it's time to head in for our next badge. Crasher Wake makes a reappearance as he leads with Gyarados, but we've got the perfect counter, that being our little Mooch. And despite the Intimidate drop, we can outspeed and fire off a quad-effective Thunderbolt, dealing way too much damage as Gyarados gets taken out. Crasher Wake sends out Quagsire next, so we've got to pivot out with a U-turn, bringing in Martlet on the switch. We tank the Mud Bomb, and on the following turn, we can fire off a max-power Grass Knot, getting another clean one-shot as Quagsire goes down. Floatzel comes out last, and this is why Axis is taking the backseat on this one, since we'd be locked into Petal Dance and risk an Ice Fang on the revenge kill. But with Martlet out, our Grass Knot nearly takes them out as their Citrus brings them out of heal range. So one final Grass Knot can secure us the victory, winning us the battle and letting us collect our 5th gym badge. As we head out of the gym, Team Galactic's causing trouble around town and disturbing the Great Marsh, so it's now our responsibility to step in and save the day. So after chasing them all the way to Lake Valor, we take them out in front of Cynthia, which earns her trust as she asks us to follow her to Celestic Town. So it's time for another mini adventure as we make our way back to Solaceon Town, head up north to clear out the horde of Psyduck, backtrack a bit to grab the Defog HM and a Staravia for Defog, clear out the thick fog, and make our way into Celestic Town. Before we can link up with Cynthia's grandma, we first gotta take out the Galactic Grunt and Cyrus himself. But since this is only the first battle, it's no challenge at this point as we easily clear through the battles, and with Cynthia's grandma impressed, we're gifted the HM for Surf, ending this little trek of the journey as Canalave is now accessible to us by water. So it's time to get our feet wet as we make our way over, but before we head too deep into the city, I make sure to get the team prepared for the upcoming rival fight. This is the most infamous game ender in my opinion, so I made sure to have everyone ready, including evolving Starlo into his final form. So with the plan in place, let's see if this battle will be the end of our attempt 1. Pearl leads with Staraptor, so I made sure to start with Mooch for the hard counter. We can immediately outspeed and fire off a Thunderbolt, and with our 4-level advantage, that's an easy one-shot. Pearl sends out Heracross next, so before switching out, we go for our Charm strats again as we force the AI to go for -6 Brick Breaks. It barely chunks any of our health, so we can safely pivot into Starlo to take the Beetle out with a Flamethrower. Floatzel comes out next, so that's an easy switch into Martlet on a weak Aqua Jet. We can sponge the next Swift too, before bringing the Weasel to 1 HP with a Grass Knot. But Pearl's AI actually hard switches on the next turn, bringing in Infernape on the attack. But since I was fairly confident that we could live a Brick Break, I decided to just stay in and finish off the monkey. And we do. We tanked the attack, allowing us to fire back with a Surf for the one-shot. Looking back, I definitely should have equipped a berry to reduce that damage, but we're in the clear now as Roserade comes out. I immediately switch into Starlo as Roserade only sets up the toxic spikes, but a couple flamethrowers can torch the flower, leaving only Pearl's Floatzel from earlier, who gets immediately outsped and taken out, meaning we've just made it past one of the toughest checkpoints in the mid-game. But it's out of the fire and into the frying pan, as we've got our 6th gym badge to collect. Byron leads with Magneton, and I just want to say, this is totally unrelated, but Byron's always had the goofiest name to me. It's probably because I'm Chinese, right? And in Chinese, the name Byron sounds like Byron, which just translates to white people. Like Bai means white and Rin means people, so you put it together and you've got white people as a 6th gym leader.
Bruh.
Well, regardless, we're leading with Starlo, who can immediately outspeed and one-shot his lead with a stab super effective flamethrower. Byron sends out Steelix next, but since his special defense is so low, we're safe to stay in and use Flamethrower again. He actually tanks it on 1 HP, but instead of using Earthquake, he opts to set up the Sandstorm instead. To be honest, I think because we were holding a Shuka Berry to reduce the super effective ground attack, he might have been disincentivized to use it, but we would have been safe anyway. And on top of that, the Sandstorm doesn't even give Steelix this special defense boost since he's not a rock type anymore. So even after Byron heals, a second flamethrower is able to land a better roll, taking him out in just 1 hit. That only leaves his ace Bastiodon, but we can very safely switch into Martlet since we completely wall him. We can target him on the special side and hit him with a Surf, as his AI sees Stone Edge as doing more damage since Metal Burst is a steel move and therefore quad resisted. Stone Edge barely makes a dent, so we can clean up with the final Surf to win us the battle and secure us our 6th gym badge. See ya, Byron! As we leave the gym, we get chartered to the Canalave Library, where Professor Rowan dumps a bunch of story on us. But that doesn't last long, as Team Galactic has set off a bomb at one of the lakes, meaning it's now our job to fix this. We can skip all the Galactic grunts, and inside the little cave here, we can also easily defeat Saturn thanks to our level difference. Then we can go and help out Diamond at Lake Verity, where we've got a revenge matchup against Mars, but we've got some additional team members she didn't see last time, as Clover comes out to clean up her ugly cat with a few drain punches. That only leaves Lake Acuity, so we pack our bags to make our way up Mount Coronet. After clearing through the puzzles, we arrive at the other side, where it's so cold that it's even snowing year-round. That's where we can find our 6th and final team member, a Snowrunt named Soroba. She's gonna evolve into Frostlass later on, and in the manga, Platinum was given her Frostlass by Candice at the same time as Cherim and Pachirisu. She's going to be a vital member of the team, as her ice coverage is greatly appreciated, and with our now full team of 6, we can continue through the blizzard to arrive at Snowpoint City. Our next gym challenge is here, but before we challenge her, I make sure to quickly backtrack to Mount Coronet from the southern entrance to pick up the Dawnstone. This lets us evolve our newest team member, and with the fully evolved team, we're pretty set for the upcoming fight. You'll see I cooked up a pretty good strat, so with everything prepared, it's time to take her on. Candice leads with Sneasel as we're starting the battle with our Starlo, and with the wide lens to boost our accuracy, our Fire Blast ends up being a one-shot to put us at an instant lead. That immediately baits out Piloswine, but I know that her special defense isn't that high, so we've just gotta land the Fire Blast. That 85% accuracy boosted to 93.5% connects for a second time. And just like we planned, Piloswine drops to 0, meaning that's half her team down. Obamna comes out, likely seeing the Water Pulse option, but we can switch to Flamethrower for the quad effective attack for another simple one-shot. That only leaves her Frostlass, and with the Hail setup from Obamna Snow, she's now got an evasion boost thanks to her Snow Cloak ability, so after missing our Fire Blast, Frostlass gets a chance to set up a double team, so it's time to switch over to the more accurate Flamethrower. Our first one brings them super low, activating their Citrus Berry, but even after Candice heals, we're able to connect with another Flamethrower, getting a critical burn and bringing it home, winning us the battle and letting us collect our 7th gym badge. With Rock Climb accessible to us, we can make our way to Lake Acuity, where it looks like we were just a little late as Pearl had gotten his butt whooped by Jupiter. So to avenge our friend's dignity, we've got to track them down to their headquarters in Veilstone City, and after a little breaking and entering, we find them all huddled together for a team meeting. It's a little risky to take them on now since they'd outnumber us, so after they disperse, we can track down Cyrus in his control room to take him out. Since this isn't the final Cyrus fight, his team isn't a challenge at all, so a little further down and we can find Saturn with the 3 lake spirits. Our new team member Soroba helps us out by taking out Toxicroak with the help of her ghost immunity, and with the lake spirits freed, that kicks off the climax of the story. It's a bit of a hike to get there, but we make our way up Mount Coronet to arrive at Sphere Pillar. Team Galactic's already starting their plans here, so we can team up with Pearl for the double battle against the admins. Our double starter core secures us the win, but unfortunately, they've held us off long enough because Cyrus activates the red chain to bring forth Dialga and Palkia. This also brings an unexpected visitor as Giratina jump scares us, dragging Cyrus into the distortion world. Cynthia runs up and says we've got to follow them through the ominous black portal, which, no? Why would Cynthia do that? Is she stupid?
White people be like, Billy, where are you, Billy? Is that you? Black people be like, forget Billy, Billy's dead!
So after clearing through the strength puzzles, we've got one more run ender to face, that being the final Cyrus fight. I did a lot of planning for this one, so as he leads with his Houndoom, I decide to start the battle with Martlet. We take the Will-O-Wisp, which doesn't affect our special attacks, as we fire back with a super effective Surf for the one-shot. This baits out Gyarados next, since he sees a super effective Earthquake, and unfortunately, since we brought Staravia for Fly, I have to pivot through Clover on the EQ. But that's all according to plan, as we can nerf his attack with the Charm, letting us tank the incoming Waterfall, and after further obliterating his attack on the next turn, that gives us an easy opportunity to switch into Mooch to take him out with the quad effective Thunderbolt. It turns out, we're just shy of the KO, so after tanking the Earthquake, we can just take him out on the next turns even after Cyrus burns his heals. Gyarados goes down, meaning that's 2 down with 3 to go. Cyrus sends out Weavile next, but Martlet completely walls them with their Steel typing, so we can finish him off with a couple Surfs. Cyrus sends out Honchkrow next, but again, I know we're safe to stay in and tank their only viable move, which is the pathetic Heat Wave. Our Ice Beam nails him hard and scores us the KO, which leaves only Crobat, who again can't really touch our Steel type. But the burn's been ticking away for a while now, so I can go into our other Crobat counter, Soroba, who can connect with a Wide Lens boosted Blizzard, taking out the bat and winning us the battle. And so, with the story basically wrapped up, we can completely ruin Cyrus's plans by taking out Giratina with a couple of Ice Beams. And just like that, Team Galactic is no more. So with our sights set on the last badge, we can make our way over to Sunny Shore City, and with one last push to get our team prepared, it's time to take them on. Volkner leads with Jolteon as we're starting the battle with Mooch. To be totally honest, this battle's not exactly the best matchup for our team, and this Jolteon's the perfect example. There are some team members that I can't afford to have our speed cut by Thunder Wave, so I start with Mooch to use Super Fang. We bring him to half as Jolteon paralyzes us, and on the next turn, this is where the scary part is because Jolteon connects with a Charge Beam, which immediately gets the boost. We miss our Super Fang in return, so I try again on the next turn, tanking another Charge Beam, which gets another boost as Mooch immediately gets paralyzed. Jolteon connects with a third Charge Beam, but luckily he doesn't get the boost as we munch away on our Citrus Berry. Mooch finally gets her act together, connecting with a U-turn to pivot into Clover. And now we can finally take him out, outspeeding and finishing them off with a return. This always baits Raichu, who sees a super effective Focus Blast, so we can safely switch into Soroba on the immunity. On the next turn, we set up the Hail, giving us the Snow Cloak evasion boost and the Blizzard accuracy boost as Raichu connects with a Charge Beam. A follow-up Blizzard brings Raichu to literally 1 HP, so after tanking another Charge Beam, the Hail Chip can finish him off, which then baits out Luxray because he sees Crunch as the best move. I switch into Martlet to tank it, and a little bit of pivoting can bring Mooch in to use Charm, and then Clover for the second Charm, and with his attack now at -6, we can finish off Luxray with a few Drain Punches while keeping ourselves pretty healthy. Last out is Electivire, but Charm is just way too strong as we outspeed and put him to -3 to tank the first Thunder Punch, then -6 to easily tank the second. Then a couple returns can take him out, meaning we've just won our 8th and final gym badge with only one last hurdle ahead of us. So it's just a quick journey over as we make our way through Victory Road, and the battles weren't that tough, but there was one funny interaction where a Clefable set up a gravity for us, so Starlo could guarantee the connect with their inaccurate moves. We arrive at the gates of the Elite Four, and before we head in, Pearl does challenge us one last time, but at this point, our level cap is increased so much that it's not really an issue. Mooch takes out his lead Staraptor before tagging out into Soroba to finish off Snorlax with a Blizzard. Then we can also chain the kill onto his Floatzel with Shadow Ball, but when Infernape comes out, we've got to switch into Starlo on the Flamethrower. A couple strengths can finish off his Monkey, and we can actually chain some more kills as Heracross goes down to a Flare Blitz, as well as his remaining Roserade, meaning the final Pearl fight is out of the way. So, with only the Elite Four gauntlet ahead of us, we step into the chambers for our toughest challenge yet. Aaron is up first, who starts the battle with Yanmega, but since the Elite Four's level cap is 10 levels higher than his lead, our Starlo can outspeed and fire off a Flare Blitz, getting the one-shot while only taking the recoil in return. In fact, most of Aaron's team gets taken out by our Flare Blitz, including his incoming Vespiquen, as well as his follow-up Heracross. But this recoil damage is just too much for us, so even though it would be tempting to fire off a quad-effective Flare Blitz into Caesar, I opt to switch into Martlet since we resist every single move he's got. A few Surfs can finish him off, which only leaves Drapion as his final Pokemon, but we again resist all of his attacks, meaning a couple more Surfs finishes the battle, making that one down with 3 more to go. By the way, Aaron's room is so cool. You can even go into this giant log here. It's totally unrelated, but I just wanted to say that. Alright, up next is Bertha, a ground-type specialist who leads with Whiscash as we're starting with Axis. It's finally her time to shine, as Whiscash can hardly touch us, so we set up the Leech Seeds, then we got to +6 with Growth, and finally, after setting up a Sunny Day to activate our Flower Gift ability, it's time to bring it home. Whiscash goes down to a quad-effective Solar Beam, Gliscor, despite the flying typing, gets taken out in one shot, Golem, who doesn't have the Gen 5 Sturdy, gets one shot as well, Rhyperior, who doesn't even have Solid Rock, is another quad-effective one shot, and lastly, Hippowdon comes out to set up the Sand a bit too late, since the AI will always send him out last, as the rest of the team all have Fire or Ice coverage to prioritize. So instead, we just reset the Sun, and one last Solar Beam can finish him off, making that 2 down with 2 to go. Third up is Flint, who I'm not afraid to admit that he's the one I had to plan for the most out of all these fights. He leads with Houndoom as we're starting with Clover. We immediately outspeed and nail him with a Drain Punch, which actually scores a critical hit for the one-shot. I had this whole line in my head where he would survive and set up a Sunny Day, and then we would use the Sunny Day to activate our Flower Gift to get a special defense boost, blah blah blah, but that's not important anymore since we scored the critical hit. Well, this baits out Infernape, so we can just stay in and use Charm, nerfing his attack and letting us easily tank his Flare Blitz. Another Charm brings him to -6, and since he's got basically 0 attack left, we can just take him out with a couple returns. Flint sends out Flareon next, and this is where the real meat of the plan lies. So, by switching into Starlo, we can sponge the Overheat, causing their special attack to drop by 2 stages, and since this Flareon's other attacking moves are Giga Impact and Quick Attack, we can safely switch into Soroba without taking any damage. And since this now baits the Overheat, we can switch back and forth between Starlo and Soroba, cycling between the two as Flareon slowly brings himself to -6 special attack. After all 5 Overheats are used up, Soroba can safely take him out with a couple Shadow Balls, meaning this threat has been neutralized, but it's not even the most scary one, as now Rapidash hits the field. Our goal is to pivot into Mooch to use Charm, so first we switch into Starlo on the incoming Flare Blitz, and now that we're baiting a bounce, we can safely send out Mooch for our strat. So a couple Charms brings him to -6, and I think I might have broke this AI because it just kept going for bounce. So after a few Thunderbolts, we're able to finish him off. That only leaves his Ace Magmortar, so we can switch into Martlet on the Flamethrower, and this always baits Thunderbolt from Magmortar, but our held Walkenberry lets us tank it. We fire back with the Surf, getting the clean one-shot and letting us walk away with the most difficult battle under our belt, making that 3 down with only 3 to go. Alright, time for number 4. After that last battle, I'm pretty much ready for anything, especially Lucian's team of Psychic types. He leads with Mr. Mime as we're starting with Soroba. So on the first turn, we immediately outspeed, and with our Expert Belt boosting the power of our super effective moves, we can easily get the one-shot with the Shadow Ball. This baits out Bronzong, who I thought was going for Gyro Ball, so I bring out Starlo. It turns out, Bronzong's actually going for a Calm Mind, but that's no problem for our physical Flare Blitz, connecting and breaking through Bronzong's sheer bulk for the one-shot. Lucian always sends out Gallade here since he sees the super effective Stone Edge, so we can pivot into Martlet for the resist. And we know that he's 100% going for Drain Punch, so we can safely pivot into Soroba to threaten Shadow Ball again. We outspeed and bring him to the yellow, but Gallade's special defense is crazy as he survives it and restores some health with the berry. That means he has a chance to fire back with the Stone Edge, but he just straight up misses. So one more Shadow Ball takes care of him as Lucian now sends out Espeon. But Soroba's able to outspeed and land the one-shot with the Shadow Ball, and believe it or not, we actually outspeed Alakazam as well for the chain kill, meaning we've just taken out the final Elite Four member with only one last battle in our way. So with our team still fully intact, we march forward into the final room ready to take on the Queen of Sinnoh. Cynthia accepts our challenge, lowering her head as she sends out Spiritomb while we're starting the battle with Clover. Right off the bat, we go for our secret strategy that I mentioned back in the Fantina fight, that being Foresight. That allows us to hit ghost types, so after tanking a Dark Pulse, our Drain Punch is now super effective as we target Spiritomb's Dark type. Their pressure ability means we eventually need to switch to Return, but with Spiritomb taken care of, that means Cynthia's gonna send out Lucario next to get the Aura Sphere kill. That's a free switch into Soroba, which is our opening to pivot through to Axis. Lucario is definitely a tricky one to take down, so after tanking an Aura Sphere, we need to set up the Leech Seed to help out the team. We can switch back into Soroba on the next Aura Sphere, letting us take another notch of their health, and since we know that he's going for Stone Edge now, we can safely bring in Martlet for the resist. Then, it's just a simple game of switching back and forth on Soroba for the Aura Sphere immunity and Martlet on the Stone Edge resist, and right before he'd fall into heal range, we can position ourselves with Soroba and outspeed to take him out with a Psychic. Cynthia always sends out Garchomp here since the AI sees that he's carrying the super effective Flamethrower, so I need to set up the Hail. Not only does this give us the evasion boost thanks to our Snow Cloak ability, but after tanking a Dragon Rush, we can now connect with our 100% accurate Blizzard to one-shot our Ace. Cynthia sends out Milotic next, so to preserve our health, I switch out into Mooch to handle her. She's our wall breaker with Super Fang to always deal 50%, so after chunking her down a bit, we can pivot out with U-turn into Martlet, who just so happens to resist all her attacks. The only real threat is Mirror Coat, but since we one-shot the Heavy Serpent with the Grass Knot, we can easily secure the knockout. Cynthia sends out Togekiss next, but instead of switching to Soroba on the obvious Aura Sphere, I gave Martlet a Troupple Berry to guarantee we always live the hit. We retaliate with an Ice Beam, bringing them to half, but since we definitely don't live another one, I decide now to switch into Soroba for the immunity. But Togekiss randomly, for no reason at all, goes for a Shockwave, nailing Soroba with the hit and nearly taking us out. I don't have too many switch-ins, so I figured the best I could do was stay in and hope we land the Blizzard. We are holding the Wide Lens, which is exactly for moments like this where we don't have an opportunity to set up the Hail. We cross our fingers, and the Blizzard connects. Togekiss goes down, meaning we've only got one final team member to face. Cynthia sends out Roserade, but we can switch into Starlo, who easily eats the extra sensory, and with the powerful stab-boosted Flare Blitz, we connect for a big hit, getting the one-shot and taking out our final Pokemon, meaning we've just become the new champions of Sinnoh, proving once and for all that we can indeed beat Platinum despite all its difficult run-enders. With our terrible Route 1 ass team, we just need the help of a few berries and the most powerful move in the game. Nope, I'm not talking about Blizzard. I'm talking about Charm, baby. Hey, thanks for sticking around all the way to the end of the video. If you liked it, I would definitely recommend you check out my playthrough using Black's manga team. His team is much more competitively viable, I guess you could put it. But we did drag around an unevolved Rufflet for the entire playthrough since he doesn't evolve until level 54. It was definitely a fun challenge though. I think if you like this video, you should check it out. Alright, see ya.